But I'm just going to kind of show you some of the tips and tricks that I have. So I've got the plan open here, and it's on the forecast tab. And the very first thing you see is a nice explanation of revenue. So some of you are starting a restaurant, for example. So you might want to kind of think about it in terms of average ticket and the number of customers you'll get a day. As you might have read online, that I own the Jersey Mike's restaurants in Mankato. And in those two restaurants, we see about $10.50 to $11.50 as our average ticket item, and that's an average of, there might be one customer or two customers on tickets. But basically we see about, if we have, let's say 200 customers a day, that would be a really nice day. So that's about $2,400, $2,500 in revenue each day. So let's see how I would add that for a restaurant. So I click on add a revenue stream, and it says tell us about this revenue stream. So I'm going to call this food sales. Now I get to choose a couple of things here. I could just predict the dollar figures on revenue only. I really encourage you to think about units. If you're a hair salon, you would have a line called haircuts. You might have another line called coloring or spa services. So think about, most businesses have 2 or 3 key items. So this time I'm going to say it's a constant unit sales. Let's switch towards let's stay on our restaurant example. So we're going to do food sales, and I'm going to guess that in any given month that I've sat around, I've looked at my restaurant, I've counted the number of tables, I've kind of imagined how many people are going to come in for lunch every single day, and let's say it's I think we're going to have about, I think in any given week we might see 100 customers, and maybe that's 400. Let's go 500 customers per month. Okay, and we're going to start this restaurant in June. So we've got 500 food sales a month, and we're going to say that in our average ticket's going to be $18. I'm just totally making this up. You're going to have to do some research in your industry, and you're really just going to have to test your assumptions. So as we save and close that, now what this is doing is it's saying that, if you had those 500 customers a month, each doing food sales, that's a constant revenue of $8,000 a month. Now I'm going to add another revenue stream because I'm going to be a liquor store, or sell liquor too. So this is liquor sales. So I've got food sales and liquor sales. Unit sales. Now I don't think it's going to quite be 500. I don't think everybody's going to order a drink, especially the lunch crowd. So maybe I'm going to do this at 250 customers buying liquor a month, and we're going to say they spend $12. And there I have it. Let's just kind of keep going. So in this example, we opened up just with liquor sales for the first 4 months, and then we added food sales after that. Direct costs. So it costs you money to do things. Direct costs are those costs that vary with sales. So those would be food costs, but also in the restaurant business might be things like napkins. So paper products vary with food costs. Also variable labor. In the restaurant industry, you kind of think that your managers are fixed costs because they have to be there all the time. But then you fluctuate your labor based on how busy you're going to be at any time. And they even have a tab here for direct labor, and you can read about it more up here. But to keep it simple, we're going to call this food cost. And we're going to say that it costs, so this would be if you have varying costs, if you want to do it that way. Let's do cost for a specific revenue stream of food sales, and it's going to be a percentage. And let's say that we've got a 36% food cost. So again, food cost, it ties into the revenue of food sales. I'm going to do a percentage of this stream's revenue, and it's 36%. All the magic happens. And I'm going to add another direct cost, which is my liquor cost. Liquor cost. and this will be for a specific revenue stream, liquor sales, and liquor cost is going to be 20%. And again, you're going to say, how do I know those numbers? And part of this is just gut check, because I've done some of these for a while, but there are plenty of resources and sample business plans out there. So we could continue to go and add costs in as we want, but right now we're going to jump to personnel. So you're going to have people to help you do this. And don't forget to fund yourself. Include a salary for yourself to begin with. We want to make sure that you earn a living out of your own business. Banks tend to not want to fund hobbies. They want to fund ongoing businesses, and they know that you're only going to stay with it if you can do it. So even if you plan on paying yourself through distributions or some other fancy way, in the beginning I'd start by adding. So we're going to first add an individual called manager owner. And we're going to, difference between regular labor and direct labor is cost. Now I want to make, let's say $4,000 a month, 48 grand a year. I can start pulling out my paycheck in March, and no annual raises for me. And this is a non-staff role versus a contract, and that will have to do with how payroll taxes are applied. So we're starting to get this nice little thing, right? We've got a head count, we've got personal expenses. So I'm going to add another set of employees. This is a group of employees, and again, I can go varying numbers if I want to get into really fine detail, or I can just do constant numbers. So I'm going to hire 4 wait staff. We're going to make this a direct labor amount. And this is whether you want to handle them as an employee expense, as a direct cost, kind of an above the line. You can do it. We can say that, for example, at Jersey Mike's, you try to keep your variable labor at about 15% of overall revenue. So let's use that here. So that means you're going to adjust your working flow based on how much money you think. So you might only have 1 wait staff on for slow times during the day, and you might bring 3 or 4 on. And these are all staff employees. So now we've got this head count, this salaries and wages. You can do a burden rate, which is kind of an overhead percentage if you want. We're going to jump right to expenses. So we have lots and lots of things we have to pay expenses for. And you'll have to just start using. So we've got rent of, let's say we got a really great deal on rent and it's only $2,500 a month. And he said, or she said, the landlord told us we didn't have to start paying till April. We're going to go all the way through. You're going to add up all your expenses as you go along. You'll click next on assets. So assets are everything you need to open up your business as your first day. So for a restaurant, that would be you'll need an oven and a flat top and dishes and pots and pans and at least 3 sinks. You need dishwashing sink, hot water, rinse water. You need hand washing sinks. You need handicap accessible bathrooms. You need tables. You need chairs. You need coolers. You need a lot of stuff. And so this is where you'd actually add those assets if you wanted to. So we could just call it, let's call it furniture, just for the fun of it. And it's a one-time amount, and our buddy's going to make us a deal, and for $2,000 he's got all the furniture we need to open up our restaurant. The next thing is credit on inventory. So don't get too confused on these kind of things. There's plenty of help. Anytime you get in trouble, you can click on help up here in the help and resources. But basically, all those assumptions I just made is we just keep losing more and more money, right? Well, let's say that we got to make 100% of our food purchases on credit, and our creditors gave us 60 days to pay. And we don't have to keep any inventory on hand. We don't do any sales on credit, like cash just comes in right away for us. And as you adjust those numbers, depending on what kind of business you have, you'll actually affect your cash rate. But as you can see, all my little assumptions here, we're just going to keep losing more and more money. So we have to go on. Next, you can set tax rates if you want. Dividends is how you might take money. Financing. Now, how are we going to get paid for it? So we're going to borrow some money. What do you want to call it? Bank loan. When do you receive it? February 16th. How much? Well, let's see. I don't know, would $100,000 work? Good interest rate these days is about 5 or 6% on business loans. Over 5 years is 60 months. Look, we get $100,000 in the bank and now we just keep losing money. Well, this isn't good enough. I'll tell you what, if we go back to revenue and we just say, you know what, I was way off on my food sales. Oh, I want to edit my food sales. Let's see, so let's go into food sales. What about food sales next? Unit sales next. It's not, we're going to have twice as many customers. So if I put in twice as many, our revenue is looking a lot better. Now we can start looking at our profit and loss statement.